This is Sarah Wallace with the CMSD Fab Lab, and this is just a short little video for an introduction to Inkscape on how to design a hall pass. So step one, we're going to set up our document. We're going to create a new document either by opening Inkscape or going up to File and New to get a new blank page. We want to set this document up correctly, so I'm going to go over to File again and down to Document Properties to open up this menu. We need to change our units. The default for Inkscape is millimeters. We're going to change those units to inches, so everything will be in inches both under front page and display. And we're going to change our width of our page to 10 and the height of our page to 10 as well, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to give me a nice square workspace. Down in the right-hand corner of Inkscape is going to give you the plus and the minus for your zoom. It's really convenient to just be able to see the whole workspace at once or zoom in to one little area. Our second step is to create the basic shape of the hall pass. So I'm going to go up to this pink rectangle on the left side and just draw a rectangle. Now yours is probably just going to have not round, nice pointy edges like this. We're actually going to round those edges next. But for the most part, Inkscape remembers what you did last time. So the last time I made something with rounded edges, so it gave me rounded edges again. And then I want to make sure that the size of my rectangle is correct. So up in the corner of here, if I click on my rectangle, they're going to give me this menu that lets me flip it or rotate it or move it. And then right over in the middle on the right side-ish has our width and our height of our rectangle. I'm going to make my width 4 and the height 8. And I want to make sure that the proportions lock right here is unlocked so that I can make it exactly 4 by 8 and it won't hold the proportions when I size the rectangle. Next thing I'm going to do is change the color of the shape. So when I click on the rectangle, I get my fill and stroke menu over here on the right. You can also right click on the shape and choose fill and stroke, or up here under object is the fill and stroke menu. Now there's 3 options. We have fill, stroke paint, and stroke style. So for fill, I'm going to choose this little white X. That's going to give me my no paint option, so it just becomes white. For stroke paint, though, I do want this to actually have a stroke on it. So instead of no paint, I'm going to choose the little blue box to give me flat color, so a bold black line. And then for stroke style, our last option, I'm going to change the unit from millimeters down to hairline. Hairline is the thinnest line that we could possibly have in this program. Essentially, for most laser design programs, hairline means that we're going to cut. So the laser is going to read this line as something to vector cut through the material, not engrave onto the material. All right, so now we've got our basic rectangle. Next, we're going to curve those corners. So I'm going to right click on my shape again. I'm just going to click on my rectangle again. And then I'm actually going to double click. By double clicking, I'm going to open this change menu on the top of my screen. The first two, the width and the height, that's going to be the 4 by 8, which mine are very close. 4 by 8, here we go. And then the RX and RY, if you start playing around with those, you can add and subtract. You see that that's going to change the general shape. And you need to change both of them. So make sure you put them at least, both of them need to be greater than 0. But you can play around and kind of make it look the way that you want it to, either more curved or less curved, but that looks okay to me. So now we've got our nice curved corners on our rectangle. Step 5, we're going to add the hole. So I'm going to go up and grab my circle tool on the left side of my screen and draw a circle. It might be white on the inside with a black outline because Inkscape's pretty smart. It remembers what we did last time. If not, you can go up to the fill and stroke paint and stroke style again to make sure the fill is no fill, stroke paint is flat color, just solid fill, and stroke style is hairline. If I click back on my circle over here, if you want the circle to be large enough to put on a doorknob, you want the width to be 3 inches and the height to be 3 inches. If you want it to just be small enough to hang on a nail, you can make that 1 inch by 1 inch. You want your circle to be not too close up to the top. If it's way up there, that's not going to give you enough wood and it'll be easier to break. So I'm just going to move it down about a 1/2 inch. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I want to align these 2 shapes so that they look nice and neat. To do that, I'm going to select both shapes, and I can do that either by drawing a selection box around them like this, or you can press Control A on your computer screen for a shortcut, on your keyboard, I mean. Now to open the Align menu, I'm going to go to Object, and way down at the bottom is Align and Distribute. When I click on that, it's going to open my Align and Distribute menu. On the right here, you see there's lots of options. To align, we want to align to selection area, which means we're aligning these shapes relative to each other. So we're not doing it relative to like the whole page or the drawing or the biggest objects, just to each other. And I'm going to choose the little shape that has 3 horizontal lines with a green vertical line. So we're going to center that on the vertical axis. And you see when I click on that, that put the circle right in the center of the rectangle. Now there's other options. This one's going to push it over to the the right, to example. This one will align it on the horizontal axis, so now it's in the middle. Another really great feature over here on the right side, we've got these 2 arrows, and this top one is our undo button. So I can just click that to undo what I just did, and that's very useful because making mistakes happens all the time. Okay, moving on to step number 7, we're going to add our text. So over on the left side, I'm going to grab the text tool and draw a nice big rectangle on here. And then I'm just going to type hall pass. And underneath, I'm going to type room 204. That's my room here. I'm going to select the shade, or select the font rather. And up at the top, I'm just going to choose the centering tool so it's nice in the middle. Just move it over here. See, I'm going to select it again. I think I'm going to highlight it. And you could choose any font that you want. Lots of different fonts. This one, sure, that looks fine to me. And I guess I'll make the hall pass part of it bold, and maybe I'll make it a little bigger. Yeah, that looks good. Doesn't have to be perfect. We just, and it can look totally different on mine than it does on yours. The next thing we need to do is change how the program is thinking about this hall pass room 204. Right now, if I click on it, I can still change the I could change what I've written. I could, if I spelled something wrong, or if I wanted to change the font. But what I want to do is change this text to a path. So I'm going to select my shape, or select my text, and then I'm going to go up to Object and choose, I'm going to go up to Path and choose Object to Path. What that's done now is it's changed the way the program is thinking about these letters. Now it's just thinking about the letters as any old path. This path makes a circle. This path just happens to make an H. So the program doesn't differentiate the word hall pass from the rectangle. It just thinks of it as another random shape. I'm also going to change the letters here, or change the color of hall pass. I'm going to do that just by at the bottom clicking on the blue to make hall pass blue. You don't have to do this, but when I'm designing things for lasers, I like to have the outline, or what will be vector cut in black, and what will be engraved in blue. That's just a nice way of organizing it for me. Now the next step, 8, is to add an icon. So we want to add, you could add a bulldog if that's your class mascot, or you could add some beakers if you're a chemistry teacher, for example. To do that, we're going to open up a Google tab, and I'm just going to search for Gears SVG. So SVG is a type of file, and when you search for Gears SVG or any kind of SVG, it's just going to give you a bunch of black and white images, essentially. We're just going to scroll through, find one that I like. This one is fine. You want to make sure that you're picking something that's not too complicated. So this is going to have way too many little crazy shapes happening in there. You also want to choose one that doesn't have any words on it. So for example, this has a background and it's got some words on the bottom. So we just want to pick like a simple shape, no words, just black and white. Once I've got my shape here, I can right click on it and then go up to Save Image As. Then I'm going to just save it as Gears 3, or you could save it as Bulldog or Beakers, whatever you want, and it will download. You need to make sure it downloads as a PNG or a JPEG. So we want one of those 2 type of bitmap files. Now I'll head back over to Inkscape, and I'm going to go up to File and Import. This will allow me to import my image. I'm going to navigate to my downloads, which is where I know I saved those gears, and just double click on the gears, and that'll import it into the program. So here is my gear icon. Now, right now, this gear icon is a bitmap, which means it is an image file. We need to convert this bitmap into an object. So our next step, step 9, is to trace the bitmap. To do that, we want to select it or click on the shape, go up to the Path menu, and choose Trace Bitmap. This is going to open our Trace menu on the right-hand side. Now there's lots of things that we can play with here. You can trace the edge detection, which is just looking at the outlines of the shape. You can do colors if you've got different colors in your shape. We can do auto trace, which for most SVGs, since those are already pretty simple black and white images, auto trace is going to work great. But going back up to brightness cutoff, you could change that, and you could play with this threshold a little bit if you wanted to have to change your object a little bit. But I'm going to stick with auto trace. It's really the best option. And then at the bottom, I'm going to click apply. Now it's hard to see that anything changed, but if I pull this away, you can see I actually have a object over here, and then back here was my bitmap. So when I click on the bitmap again, you can see it pops up over here in my bitmap trace panel. I'm going to press the delete button on my keyboard, or you could also right click on the shape and go up to delete, because we no longer need the bitmap now that we have this nice object. I'm going to hit that blue button, the little blue square at the bottom, because again, I'm going to engrave that. So I want to make sure that it's blue so I know which gets engraved and which gets cut out. And then the last thing, I'm going to center the whole design again. I'm going to select everything in my shape, go up to Object and down to Align and Transform, and choose that Center Align one more time. So now I'm all done. I've got my outline of a rectangle, the hole, my hall pass and my room number, and then an icon on there. The only thing left to do is to save our design, to File and Save As. You're going to save this wherever you keep your Fab Lab or your laser cutting projects. I'm going to save it as Hall Pass 3. And you want to make sure that this is being saved as a Inkscape SVG file. You could also change it to a plain SVG if you'd like. Either the Silhouette Cameo, Cricut, or Glowforge will all take SVG files. So we just press Save As, and you're all set. You've designed your first thing in Inkscape. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a great day. Bye.